Tech for Seniors, July 6, 2020. Well, welcome everyone. Huey, welcome.
I'm here.
Huey. Are you here? Did you
Yeah, let me move my head so you can see the gator.
see the gator behind you there? Yeah. And you got your new computer all hooked up.
Well, it's enough to be here.
And Bob, welcome.
Good morning.
Give us a wave. Are you everything okay? You're keeping the bad guys out?
They haven't started coming in.
Excellent, thank you. And our special guest today, Chris Guld from Geeks on Tour. Chris, give us a wave.
Hello, everybody.
And her, of course, her significant other. Where's Jim? There you go. And Bill James, give us a wave. Bill is doing his presentation on File Manager this Wednesday with APCUG, and it's a popular show. What you just had under 300 people, I think the last time you gave it. It was unbelievable. So hope to see everyone there on Wednesday morning. Well, I had a great week. I cooked a big turkey, had lots of family over. Hopefully everybody had lots of holidays and lots of fun. Not a lot came out in tech this week. I guess the big thing this week was with Google Photos being released and the new Google Photos. And I know Chris is going to talk about photo sharing today, but I just wanted to remind everyone that if you haven't, you should make sure that you have the latest update in Google Photos. We talked yesterday, or Chris talked yesterday on the show, and sometimes you have to go and actually manually update at the Android store. This is the app. We're talking about the app for the Android and iOS. Sometimes you actually physically have to go on and manually update. They should normally update on their own, but you really want to get the latest edition because there's some really, really cool features. Now, I'm just going to share my screen.
Can I just tell them how they would know if they have the new
Sure,
version
go
or
ahead,
not?
Chris.
If you open Google Photos, and you're used to seeing a 3-line menu in the upper left, it is not there in the new version. So open Google Photos. If you don't have a 3-line menu, you have the new version.
Excellent, thanks. Can you see my screen now? Do you see the Geeks on Tour?
Yes.
Did I share the right to screen here?
Yes, yes.
Good, perfect. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give Chris's show a plug. The Button Show on Sunday, which is like going to church. It's a ritual at our house. We all sit around and watch the Button Show. And on one of the things when you download the new version of Google Photos is the menu system's all a bit different, and you're going to get a bit confused. So the thing that Chris did on her show last week, episode number 194, she explained all the new menu system. So it's a YouTube video. I'll put the link in the show notes today. And you can, I would encourage you for sure to watch the video because she explains all the new menu system in the new Google Photos, which is pretty darn cool. Now, one of the things that was really cool, which I'll show you here, is if you look, let's see here. This is the new Google Photos. This is a screenshot off my phone. You will see the Google Maps here, and you'll see Explore Map. And if you click on that, you will see, as you look around, you'll see these little dots. And these little dots that you see are where you've actually taken pictures. And if you click on that dot, you will find all the pictures you took in that area. So in this particular case, I went down to Victoria and clicked on Victoria, and I've taken 2,645 pictures there. We go down to Victoria a lot and have lots of friends there. So you can see all the pictures in different locations. So that is really, really, really cool. So so that's one of the really great features of the new Google Photos app. So make sure you download it. Make sure you watch Chris and Jim's video. I should say both of you make the video. So I think you should watch that, and that's great. Chris also has a blogger site, and I'll put the link in the show notes as well, where you can, she's written out all the updates and so on and so forth with the blog. So I think that's, let's see, what else did I want to say? I think that's about it. Now, next week, we're going to do something a little bit different. For my 20-minute segment, I'm going to actually, I want to talk about what happens if you're in your house and you're cleaning out your back room and you discover 20 albums of old photographs. What are you going to do with those? Let's say you're a senior like I am, and you discover these boxes of photographs. What are you going to do with them? Now, when we had this discussion with my wife the other day, when we found these photographs, I said, throw them out. We haven't looked at them in 40 years. And she said, nah, I can't do that. We shouldn't do that. So I wanted to talk about, you know, I mean, obviously you could just leave them until you pass away and then your kids have to do something with these old photographs, right? Or should you, I mean, we have lots of technology to tell us what to do with them. And Chris has lots of videos on how to scan them and put them on Google Photos and all that sort of stuff. But should we? Will anybody really look at them? What should we do with these? So I want one of the reasons that we do the Zoom meetings is we can have two-way conversations. Tell me what you think. Should you think we should just leave them in the boxes, keep the door closed and not clean out our junk rooms, you know, or what happens? What do you think we should do? And I want everyone's opinion as to next week and that. So think about it and think about what you might want to do when you discover these old photographs. All right, that's me blabbing along for about first 8 minutes. Bob, do you want to take over and do you want to give us a security update?
Over 130 million records from recent data breaches are currently for sale. Over the past month, a known and reputable data breach broker has been selling numerous databases on hacker forums that they state were acquired in data breaches conducted in 2020. Each of the 14 databases being sold contain different information, but they all include username and hashed passwords. Of the databases being sold, only 4 of the companies were known to be breached in the past. These are Home Chef, Minted, Tokopedia, and Zusk. The rest are new additions to the information for sale on the dark web. Google removes 25 credential stealing apps. Once Google confirmed that the alert from a cybersecurity firm was valid, Google removed 25 apps from the Google Play Store that hid Facebook credential stealing malware. Collectively, the apps had been downloaded 2.34 million times, consisting of step counters, image editors, video editors, wallpaper apps, flashlight apps, file managers, and mobile games. ZDNet reported that the 25 apps were developed by the same threat actor and that each contained malware that monitored when other apps on the device were opened. If the Facebook app was opened, the malware would place a phony overlay on the Facebook login page, sending off the credentials to its command and control center once the user entered them. DDoS botnet coder gets 13 months in prison. A 22-year-old from Vancouver, Washington, was sentenced today to 13 months in prison for creating and operating multiple DDoS botnets made up of home routers and other networking and Internet of Things devices. The U.S. Department of Justice said Kenneth Curran Schuchman, known online under the nickname of Nexus Zeta, created multiple IoT botnets, which he rented online so others could launch DDoS attacks. Justice moves slowly. This misdeed started all the way back in October of 2017. UFC at San Francisco pays over $1 million in ransom. The NetWalker criminal gang targeted the University of California at San Francisco with ransomware on June 1st, demanding a $3 million ransom. A negotiator for the university communicated with the gang, imploring them to take down the cost due to the university's financial hardships. They settled on $1 $1.14 million. The FBI and Europol strongly advised against paying ransom demands, arguing it encourages further attacks. But UCSF felt they had no choice. The only advice I can offer is back up, back up, back up. DDoS attacks jump 540% in 2020. Security researchers reported that DDoS attacks are experiencing a tremendous surge in 2020. The first quarter of the year seeing 540% more DDoS attacks than the fourth quarter of 2019. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Services and basically jams up a website's function by overwhelming it with incoming web traffic. Attackers hijack other users' systems and weaponize them into a botnet to carry out these attacks. The researchers' report warns of a new DDoS trend called invisible killer. These attacks, which are concentrated attacks that fly under the radar due to being small and quicker than most DDoS incidents. Fraud King pleads guilty to stealing hundreds of millions. The Infraud organization, whose slogan was "In Fraud We Trust," ran an illicit cybercriminal operation that sold malware, stolen identities, and poached financial data until it was dismantled in 2018 when the U.S. Justice Department indicted 36 of the organization's affiliates and arrested 13 of them, including Sergei Medvedev, a 33-year-old Russian. This week, in a Nevada federal court, Medvedev pleaded guilty to racketeering and being a leader of Infraud. The DOJ holds Infraud responsible for $568 million in losses, claiming the organization's endeavor to become the internet's top spot for carding, which is buying things with stolen credit card data. That's it for this week. Stay safe. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. That's great. Oh, bad things happening out there.
Unfortunately, some things never stop.
Yes, yes, indeed. All right, Huey. We expect we expect greatness with your new computer.
Well, I'm hoping I have this figured out. Are you seeing my screen?
We are.
And it says migrating to a new computer.
We are.
All right. I have two screens now, so I'm not sure how all this is going to work, but we'll try it. We'll see what happens. If I can figure out, there we go. I'm talking about moving my data from my older computer to my brand new computer. And I've certainly nowhere near getting it all done, but I've got quite a bit of it over the last couple of days. But this is what I used. The hardware and software mentioned here, by the way, are what I used. I'm not recommending these items. I'm only telling you what I used. I'm receiving no compensation for them. In fact, I purchased all of them. The big thing is I back up using True Image Backup from Acronis. I've been using it for years and luckily haven't had to use the recovery portion of it, but just a couple of times many years ago. But it is at least satisfying knowing that the data is getting backed up. And I knew that moving the computer, I went ahead and did a backup just 2 or 3 days ago of both my C and D drive. C is my programs and D is all of my data. And so we backed up and I had that on a 3 terabyte external hard drive. And that's an example of what an external hard drive is. You can get them all different sizes. I'm going to have to get a bigger one now because I've got 4 terabytes of space on this new one, and if I start filling it up, I will need a larger backup because I like to have at least 2 backups on the one drive. I've got other drives too, and I will save them out. But I use the hard drive to move some data. I also have a portable hard drive, which was a 0.5 terabyte, a 500 gigabyte, that I used to try to move some of the data. And I came across this in one of my drawers, and I've been using it for years. It's called the Tornado. I got it at an APCUG conference probably around 2008 when it came out, and what you do is you plug one end into the old computer, one end into the new computer, and there's some software built into it which automatically loads, and you can see what's on both computers and move stuff back and forth. I tried that. It was very time consuming. And by the way, a couple of years after I had the tornado, I did see this on the market, and it turned out it was the same software, so they must have licensed it to dummies. And I think I have one of those hanging around here somewheres. I haven't used it in so many years, but it still does work with Windows 10, or from a Windows 10 machine to a, say, a Windows 7 machine, where you can file transfer without having to back up to your hard drive and so on, but it is painstaking slow. I also have 9 gigabytes of Outlook old emails from 29, 30 to 34 different email addresses that I use in Outlook, and I didn't want to lose any of that. So I purchased this Outlook backup software, and it's Outlook Backup and Migrate. It's $50 for 6 months. Now, why you'd need it for 6 months? You need it to move it once and you're done with it pretty much. And if I have to buy another computer, I can use it again within the 6 months. Otherwise, I got to pay $50 again for it. But I was able to back up all of my information, all of my accounts, everything. And so I did install it on the new computer using it after I installed Outlook a couple of times, because the first time it wanted to do something with my OneDrive, and it ended up installing stuff in a folder, from a folder, in a folder that was with old data and old information, and I couldn't control it, so I ended up shutting off OneDrive to do the install. And then I ran the Outlook backup software, which almost ran well. There were a couple of glitches. I found a fix for them, and for the few things, I'm back up and running. My Outlook is working fine. I can still go back and search my old emails going back to 2004. Okay, that's it for that part of it. Now, I've got a short Starlink report. Are you hearing that?
Yep.
Good. That's the only sound I have on this PowerPoint, but I want to make sure you're hearing it again.
Not hearing it.
Oh, you're not hearing it. Okay.
No,
Well,
no.
Not a big deal, because it's only just saying the Starlink report. But just very quickly, the weather forecast, let's see, did I miss one? I think I missed one here. Let me go back one. No, that's it. The weather forecast looks mostly favorable for the Space Coast's next launch. A mission slated to see 230-foot SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket take the flight from Kennedy Space Center here in Florida on Wednesday of this week. That's what it looks like. Conditions are shaping up to be 70% go for the noon liftoff, or 1 minute before noon liftoff from Pad 39A. The Space Force said Sunday, thanks to the movement of drier air. Teams will have until 12:05 to launch. If it doesn't go off, they have the same time period slated for Thursday. Also, the first of the low Earth orbit internet satellite companies, OneWeb, filed for bankruptcy protection back in March. There were 3 companies, and this one filed for bankruptcy. The company had planned to launch thousands of internet providing satellites into low Earth orbit. But now the company has risen from the grave with the announcement on July 3rd that the UK government and the Indian cell phone operator Bharti Global have successfully bid to rescue OneWeb with $1 billion investment. The revived company now plans an even larger constellation of up to 42,000 satellites at an altitude of 1,200 kilometers, which for those of us who don't know kilometers, I looked it up, it's 746 miles. So it's a little bit higher than the SpaceX. And when it filed for bankruptcy in March, it had 74 satellites already launched towards an initial goal of 650. While the new owners were being sought, OneWeb applied for permission to expand the constellation of 42,000 satellites. This is what they're going to look like up in the air. They are fairly large, about the size of a person. So what we got is the Internet of Space. We have the Starlink, which is the SpaceX and Elon Musk company. We have the Project Kuiper, which is Amazon and Jeff Bezos. And once again, OneWeb is back in the picture with the built, right now they're being built in Florida and in partnership with Airbus, which is a European company. But they're reportedly probably going to be moving to the UK following the deal if it goes through. And if it's approved, it's going to be owned by the UK government and the Bharti Global. So that's it for the Starlink report for today and my time period. And I'll turn it back to you if I can figure out where it went.
Thank you. Wow. You wonder how they're going to get up into the skies. There's going to be so many satellites that they're up there. You won't be able to get up there. There's going to be just incredible number.
Yeah, one of the things that are concerning astronomers is they're not going to be able to see the stars.
Yeah.
And Starlink at least is putting something up to try to avoid the reflection coming back to Earth so you don't really see them and see the light from them. Yeah. But not all of them are going to be doing that. So when you're talking 42,000 of these little things floating around, and they aren't that small, it's going to get crowded up there.
All right, well, we have to move on to, thanks, Huey. Now we have a very special guest, Chris Guld with Geeks on Tour. She is a product expert for Google Photos. And I must tell you, she has a book coming out. And this is a book. I've bought all her books. I would highly recommend buying this book. She's delayed writing the end of it because she wanted to wait until this edition of Google Photos, all the changes occurred, so that it's always hard to keep your book current, and she wanted this last little piece of the puzzle. So we expect the book will be out very shortly. I would strongly urge you to purchase it. It's a great reference book, and Chris is a wonderful person and a great teacher. So we look forward to what you have to tell us today, Chris. Take it away. You can share your screen. You're a co-host as well.
Okay. Well, so Jim, did you pay him his $1 or something?
Oh, and by the way, we're supported by Geeks on Tour.
Yeah. Well, I want to first start by saying thank you to Ron and Huey for inviting me here. There's just nothing I like doing better than presenting information on Google Photos. Of course, I prefer to do it in real life, live, as I have to your Silvercom club in Phoenix. How many people were there, have seen me live in a presentation or in real life? I am live even here. All right. Cool, we have several hands up. Well, hello, and I so appreciate Zoom for giving us the opportunity to continue this when we can't meet in real life. We're supposed to be in Wyoming now for a big rally, but all of our bookings were canceled through the end of the year. Anyway, I am here to talk about Google Photos and sharing. You know, I could teach classes on Google Photos every day for a month and not go through everything that it can do. So this is just on sharing. And I do have a few slides, so there we go. Okay. Sharing photos and videos. That's a huge advantage to Google Photos, is you have unlimited storage for free for all your photos and videos. As Ron said, I am a product expert recognized by Google for Google Photos, and my business is Geeks on Tour, along with my husband, Jim, who you see in one of these little Zoom squares. So sharing photos, it's not just one thing. One size does not fit all. You need to know why you're sharing. There's different reasons. You might just want people to see a bunch of pictures from your trip to Italy. And that's a completely different reason for sharing than if you have a picture that you want to give to somebody. For example, here, I do want to take a little selfie. Whenever I speak to a group, I like to take a selfie with the group. So I can do that with you too. I have all your Zoom squares up on the screen there. And and get that in focus. Okay, I'm going to use that later. So I just took a selfie of me with your meeting in the background. But that's completely different from wanting to just share a group of my photos with you. So another reason is you want to give someone a copy of one or more photos for them to have. You want to give it to them. The second piece of what you need to understand before you share is who you're sharing with. Know your audience. Maybe you want to share so that anybody can see it. For that, you would need to use a link, and I'm going to show you that. Maybe you're sharing with somebody that says, I don't know anything about Google Photos. I don't even understand my smartphone or pictures, but I am used to getting photos sent to me in a text message or in an email. So you have to ask them that before you just send the way you know how. Ask your recipient how they want to receive it. If you do have a friend who uses Google Photos, there is such a nice, easy way of sharing directly Google Photos to Google Photos. And then there's this cool thing that you can share to a photo frame. If you give your mother a photo frame for Christmas, you can send pictures to it. And I will show you that. And last but not least, sometimes people want paper. So Google Photos gives you an easy way to print a photo book. I will tell you to tap the share button on your phone. This is what the share button looks like. On the Android, it's this 3-dot, I call it a 3-dot slingshot. On the iPhone, it's a square with an up arrow in it. I refer to that as the share button. So now I'm going to demo each of those different types. So I'm going to first demo sharing to anyone, and then I'm going to demo sharing to someone who's not in your list, a stranger, demo sharing to a friend who uses Google Photos, and demo showing photos to a photo frame, the hub. So let me turn off. All right. So let's do it. I have some fabulous pictures of national parks. My husband Jim and I were full-time RVers for 14 years. And I haven't even checked them off, but I don't know if we've, whoa, that was my microphone doing something weird, huh? Sorry. So I have an album of our national park photos. I want to show that to you. So let me go back here again. So in Google Photos, if I go to album, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I go to albums and I can find, here is an album of national parks. And I say, gee, these pictures are just so pretty. I want to be able to tell anybody to go see my pictures of national parks. Now, they cannot see my Google Photos account. So if I want people to see this, I have to give them a link to see it. So you do that by clicking the share button. Do you all see the share button? It's this 3-dot slingshot thing in the upper right. Now, I'm not going to share with a particular person. I'm not going to share to Twitter or to Facebook, although I am going to share to Facebook, but if I click this button, it means share to my Facebook timeline. I just want to get a link that I can post anywhere. So I click create link, and it has been created, and now I copy it. Now I can go to my Facebook page, and this is facebook.com/geeksontour, and anybody can go to this Facebook page, facebook.com/geeksontour. And I'm going to post. I can type whatever I want and then just paste the link that I just copied from Google Photos. And when I click post, anybody, any of you, go ahead and try it, can go to facebook.com/geeksontour, and it takes a minute to update, but you'll be able to go there and see that there is the cover picture. You'll see the cover picture right there. And then when you click on it, you will be at the album that has all my pictures. So that is the first way, sharing to anyone. And you can post that link anywhere. You can post it in an email or to a web page or to you can tweet that link. So this is the most flexible way of sharing pictures using Google Photos, is just to get a link. I got a link to an album. You can also get a link to individual photos. Okay, so the next one that I want to demo is sharing to a stranger. Now, I did this just last week, which is why I have this example. Last week, we went kayaking in the Keys. Anybody else here like to kayak? So we have lots of pictures of kayaking. We love to kayak, but we did not take our kayaks with us to the Keys. We rented. And at the shop, we talked about kayaking a bit. And I said, my favorite place that I like to kayak was in Venice. And we did. We kayaked on the Grand Canal in Venice like 3 years ago. And let's say that I talked to Bob before the meeting here, Bob Gustisha. Now he is certainly not a stranger to me, but I don't have his phone number in my phone. He is not a contact on my contacts. So just like the proprietor at this kayak shop, she said, oh, could you send me those pictures? And I said, sure. Do you use Google Photos? And she said, huh? What's that? And I said, okay, what's your email address? And she said, could you just text them to me? Oh, okay. So she likes doing it via a text. So I'm going to pretend that Bob Gustisha is that proprietor of the kayak shop, and I am going to send him a text message with these photos. And so let me show you my phone. And okay, so everybody should be seeing my phone now? Yes. All right, very good. So I go to Google Photos. Oh, come on. Google Photos is that, looks like a fan now. It used to look like a pinwheel. Now I say it looks like a fan. And here is the real beauty of Google Photos. I can just search for kayaking in Venice. And there are all the photos of when we went kayaking in Venice. I can decide which ones to send. This is the best one. It shows that we are in the Grand Canal. I just touch and hold until it gets selected. Now I can also select another one. All right, good enough. Now I want to share that same button, share, unless I was on an iPhone, and then it would be that square with the up arrow, share. And I'm not talking about here because Bob Gustisha is not in my contacts, so he will not show up here. And I'm not talking about sending a link. I want to send him the actual photos. So I need to find my texting app, and I use Google Voice. So there we go. And I'm going to share. It's going to make an album out of it. No. All right. So you do that again. And share. And there's so many different messaging apps now, you know. So no, I don't want to use the Google Voice. I'm going to use Messenger. There we go. That's more texting. So I need to put his phone number in here. Send to. So here are photos. And well, does anybody see on my screen here, there should be a place to type his phone number. And that's not it either. So I don't do texting very often, obviously. Go back there again. Back. And I just did this with the lady in the keys. So what did I use? There and there and share. And where is the, so many apps. Anybody else get messed up with all their apps? Use the quotes. There we go, messages. All right, and new message. And here's where I type his phone number. People who use texting all the time won't have this problem. 505 and then send to that phone number. And hi, Bob. And I send it. And now I'm going to ask Bob to look at his phone or his watch, right? And tell us if he received those.
He's looking.
Okay. Okay. I can go on to the next one and we'll come back to see how it worked. All right. So, and also, did you notice that my first example, let me change cameras back. My first example, I used the computer to share. My second example, I used the phone. So there are ways you can share with either. The phone obviously is necessary if you're going to be doing texting, but sending via email or sending via a link you can do using the computer as well. So now I want to send to a friend who does use Google Photos, and I'm going to go back to the computer for this. So Ron Brown is absolutely in my contact list, and I know that he uses Google Photos, right, Ron?
Right.
Okay, so I can go to Google Photos on my computer, and I'm going to find that selfie that I just took. So not the best picture, but you get the idea. This was a selfie I took of you guys on my screen in the background. And I say, I'll bet you Ron might want to have this. So I can click the share button. And this time I am going to share directly to a person in my contact list. I search for him, Ron, and there he is. Now, because he is a Google Photos user, this is going to go straight to his Google Photos. So let me know where this shows up. All right. And where this should show up on Ron's, but we'll have him show it to us in just a second, is in the area called sharing. So on Google Photos, there's this whole area here called sharing.
And it's right here. Do you want me to show it to you?
Sure. Let me stop sharing my screen so you can.
So we will share the screen. And here is the photo Chris just sent me right here. See new activity?
Uh-huh.
And here's this.
And
Right
then,
that's in Google Photos.
right. And then you see the little save link.
Right,
now you don't
right
have,
here?
if you just want to see it and that's it, you say, oh, gee, that's nice, but nah, I don't want it. But if you want it, you click
this
save.
is priceless. This is priceless.
You click save and now it is in your Google
It's
Photos
in my
library.
photos. So if you come up to photos, and there it is.
Yeah. So, and that is, I call that a conversation, because go back there, Ron.
To sharing?
Uh-huh. And open it, open the Chris sharing, and see down at the bottom it says say something. So he can type. And I will get it. And now just stay there. I won't share my screen. I'll just respond and let it show up there. Okay. So I just typed something back without sharing a picture. So if you refresh, that's something on the computer you often need to refresh with Google Photos to see what's coming through. There. So this is like another text messaging app. So
Pretty
it's
cool.
one more place to look when you are wondering, where is that message that I got from somebody? All right, I'm going to stop for a minute and see if there's any questions. Oh, Bob says you didn't get the text? Aw.
Well, the only comment I have, Chris, is that it's extremely handy to use when you're selling items, to create those links for people to view the items you want to sell. And that's one of the good uses other than websites that I have found.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people using the links. And after you've posted the link, if you decide, oh, I didn't want them to see that picture, you can remove it from the album and it won't be there. And vice versa. If you add another picture, you take some more pictures, just add them to the album, and anybody that has the link is going to see the new pictures as well. Okay. Well, if no questions, I'll go on to my last two things, and that is the photo frames. So that's the generic term for things like this home hub. This is a Google Home Hub, a photo frame. And there's a way to tell it to display an album. So this photo frame could be at my mom's house, and pictures I take go on there. And if you have set the album to automatically add pictures of a certain face, then they will be there. Like, it must not have recognized. I was expecting that selfie I took earlier to be on here. It must not have recognized my face in that picture. because it's not on there. And sometimes it just takes a little while. But does anybody use that? Has anybody set up a photo frame at a relative's house and have it automatically add people?
Yes,
Chris,
we have 2 new grandchildren and over the past 2 years, and they have a photo frame, and so do we, so we can share back and forth. We've done it both with Google Photos and Amazon Photos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
I use Amazon because I have an Amazon device that shows pictures. I don't have the one for
Right, the portal.
from Google. Yeah.
and there's a popular picture frame called Nixplay, Nixplay, and it
That's
integrates into Google Photos as well. We have one of those. Actually, I've got a bunch of those, and it updates through Google Photos into a photo frame.
Yes, as well as Amazon. Or Alexa.
Right.
And the other thing, Chris, is that I always like to mention is that most smart televisions will have some sort of interfacing software that will allow you to use it as a screensaver and will link into Google Photos. So even if you just have a smart TV, look for the app that's on that smart TV, or you might even be able to download an app to the smart TV, and then all your photos will come up onto your TV as a screensaver.
And if you don't have a smart TV, just buy a $35 Chromecast device, and now you do have a smart TV,
Yeah,
and it will
exactly.
show all your Google Photos. We have all our travel photos playing on every TV all the time. We never turn off our TVs. I see a question in the chat. Will Grammarly work with the messages Chris sent to Bob? I don't have Grammarly installed as an app, but it probably would. Yeah. All right. Well, I still don't know why Bob didn't get his, but promise the kayak lady did get hers. Still might take a while. Might just take a while.
A long way
I know
to
it did
New
with
Mexico,
hers.
you know. And he lives up on a ranch, you know, so maybe they have to Pony Express it over to him.
And the last and maybe best way of sharing is with a book. So this book is what I gave Jim for our anniversary. And how long do you think it took me to make this book? I mean, if you all have used Shutterfly or Snapfish or something like that to make books, I'll bet you spent hours.
Yep.
I literally spent 2 minutes because this was actually a suggestion.
Mhm.
Google popped up a suggestion, says, do you want to make a book with all sorts of pictures with Jim's face in it? And I said, sure, sounds like a good idea. I have thousands of pictures of Jim, but it picked a selection, and then I was able to review it and say, yes, there's another one I want, and add it, or no, I don't like that one. No, I don't like that one. And it just took me a minute. I clicked the button, I paid like $40, and I get this book. So those are the basic ways of sharing, either with a link that anybody can see your pictures, or directly to a text messaging app or an email app, or directly to Google Photos, another Google Photos user, or on a photo frame or a book. What do you think?
I swear by Google Photos.
Ah,
Chris,
good.
one question I have for you is, now 50% of the people in the United States use iPhones. So often the audience that we're talking to, they're using iPhones. Tell us the difference between an iPhone, their photo management system, briefly, and Google Photos. It's a common question I get asked because we're talking, a lot of people have iPhones. So iPhone has their photo management system. What's the difference?
Okay, great question. Thank you. I have an iPhone too. And one of the beauties of Google Photos is it works the same on iPhone. The difference is two main things. Apple's whole reason for being is to keep all of your Apple devices in sync. So the purpose of the Apple photos along with the iCloud is to keep all your devices in sync. So if you add a photo on one device, it gets added to all your devices. If you delete a photo from one device, it's deleted from all your devices. That's how Apple works. Google Photos has a different philosophy. Google Photos couldn't care less about what devices you have. They just want everything in the cloud. So you take your pictures from your iPhone, you put them into the Google Cloud. You take your pictures from your Android, you put them in the Google Cloud. You take your pictures from your digital 35mm cameras, you put them in the cloud. You can now delete them from your devices. Google doesn't care. The cloud is the end result for Google. So that's just a completely different philosophy. The second thing is that with Apple Photos, there's a lot you need a computer for. So if you really want to do good things with your photos, you still need a Mac to use the Photos app on the computer. For example, on the phone, on Apple Photos, I cannot even see the file size. You know, sometimes it's important to know the file size of a picture. With Apple Photos on the phone, I cannot. On a Mac, I can. Google lives in a world where there are no computers anymore. You know, I mean, you can do stuff on a computer. They do make Google Photos available through a website on a computer, but you do not need. There's a lot of things in Google Photos that you can do on a phone that you can't do on the computer. So Google Photos is mobile centric. That's my two differences.
Two different, thank you.
Otherwise, they're very similar, you know, so.
Now, this is your chance, everyone, to ask Chris. We have her here. We have 6 minutes left. If you have a question, fire away to Chris. She's here for you. But Huey, can you probably have a larger look at everybody with your fancy schmancy new computer there. I can only see about 6 people. If people put their hands up or wave, can you sort of monitor and ask the question?
Let me change to gallery view, and I probably can do that. Okay, I don't see any hands up now. Let's see, there are 2 pages. Marietta has a question, and Edith has a question. So Marietta first, if you unmute yourself.
Hi there, Chris. I appreciated all your information. I have, like I said, I've been using OneDrive for many years and have, well, 100 different files. Now, I'm wondering, does OneDrive have many of the same features, or can I convert all my photos over to Google Photos and retain all of my files, different files like family and trips, and I've got them all separated. So that's my question. What's the options?
And as I wrote to you, I think the best program is the one you know. So if you have been working with OneDrive, as long as it's a good program, and OneDrive is, in fact, OneDrive is my secondary backup. I have the OneDrive app on both my iPhone and my Android, and it is uploading every picture I take to OneDrive. So if perchance something should go wrong with my Google Photos, I have my OneDrive copy. But I do not. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I noticed I have Google Photos and I go in there and most all of my photos are there also. So it's, I didn't even program that or do anything with it, but.
Right, Google Photos comes with most phones, most Android phones these days.
Okay.
And you would, if you wanted to, be able to easily get all of your photos from OneDrive to Google Photos through your computer, but not the groupings, not the albums.
Yeah.
So
I'm paying, you have to pay for OneDrive, but it's only like $2.12 a month. So I've just been using it forever, and I would hate to lose the files, where I've got them all categorized.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Edith was next. You have to unmute yourself, Edith.
Okay.
There you go.
The question I have for Chris is, after listening to her video yesterday at Geeks on Tour, I have updated both my Chromebook and my PC computer. And I wanted to upload photos from my memory stick or flash drive to the Chromebook and into Google Photos. The only option that I have to save them or get them into Google Photos is add to an album or shared album. There is no other option to do anything else. I have uploaded them by saying, okay, add to an album, and they do not go into Google Photos. They only create the album.
They can't be in an album without
How
being
come I
in
can't
Google
hear you?
Photos. They can't be in an album without being in
right.
Google Photos.
They have to
So
be in the photo first.
I say they are there. Now, what you might be experiencing, when were these pictures taken? You're muted.
You're muted.
They were scanned onto a CD in September of 2008. And
Okay.
I took them off the CD and put them on the memory stick so that I could work with them.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen and show you something.
I can't hear.
Turn your sound up.
Okay. So you should be seeing my Google Photos now.
Yep.
All right. If your pictures were taken in 2008, they will not show up at the beginning of Google Photos. You would have to go back to 2008. You know, they go in by date. So you would need to find 2008 and you should see your photos there. There is an easier way though. If you just added them, you can ask Google to show you photos in order of date added rather than date taken. And that's if you click on search, then show more. Here's recently added.
Yep.
Now, all those pictures from 2008 will show up at the top because they were added today rather than taken today. Hopefully that helps. But if you see them in the album, they are in your Google Photos. That's how it works.
Okay, Warren has a question.
Just a comment, really. Well, on an iPhone, your pictures will go to the photo section of the iPhone, which is a standard app that is included with iPhones. In that app, you can specify other locations. And of course, I automatically have it uploaded to Google Photos so that every picture I take will eventually get to Google Photos, and it doesn't need any special processing or computer.
Right, right, absolutely. All you have to do is install the Google Photos app on your iPhone and turn it on. You know,
Right.
Tell it which Google account you want the pictures to go to, and then it just starts doing it.
Okay, there's a question from the chat box. Can Google Photos share with a mini portal device?
The portal is a Facebook device. No,
Okay, and then
or at least not that I have found out how to. We have one, and I couldn't figure out how to get Google Photos to it.
and Carlene asked, how about putting pictures on external drive, an external hard drive?
Putting pictures on from Google Photos?
It
Or-
doesn't say.
How about putting on? Well, I absolutely have a hard drive that has all my backup of photos, and I can either get pictures from the hard drive and send them up to Google Photos. I can also get pictures from Google Photos and bring them down to the hard drive. Yes.
Okay, Bob G has a question.
Not a question, just a statement. The difference too with Google Photos is you have unlimited storage.
For free.
Correct. If you have your iPhone photos, eventually they'll reach their max, and then you have to start paying. You don't have to do that with Google Photos.
Listen, everyone, guess what? It's 10 o'clock. Another hour has gone by. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Chris for an excellent presentation. Be sure and buy her. Chris, when's your book going to be out? When can we buy it?
Launch date September 1.
Oh, we got to wait. We got to wait another couple of months.
It's at the editor. I don't want to rush the editor.
All right. So I would recommend for sure you buy her book. It's going to be great. I think that I want to thank Huey for coming. Huey, are you going to be with us next week?
I sure hope so.
I think Bob's going on a holiday, but but he's going to send us his security update, right, Bob?
Correct.
Excellent. And Bill James, be sure Wednesday morning, I think the link was in the show notes there. Be sure and watch his file management, very popular on Wednesday morning with APCUG. And we will see you next Monday, the same time, the same place, the same address. Everything will be the same. And even Huey and I will still be here next week, right, Huey?
Right here. I'm going to be sitting here all week long waiting.
All right. Listen, thanks everyone for coming. Have a great week. And thanks again, Chris and Jim. Thanks again.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.